at least if I'm currently on the mic. Perfect. I'm glad to see it works at least in the Discord. I want to confirm if my mic works on stream specifically on Twitch. Alrighty. Joel, apologies for the slight break, everyone. Welcome to the third place tournament. This will determine third place in the Pixelmon World Cup between Astral Pixelmon and I believe this is Hallowed Fantasy. Apologies for that slight break in the that there. Of course, I do want to say before this match begins, I do potentially want a little bit of interviews coming up, specifically with one person representing each of the teams here. More specifically, I do want to invite Kazin and Hoytman up onto the stage. How are you guys doing?
Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear.
Hello?
All right.
I hear you just fine as well, Kazin. How are you both feeling? This is going to determine who will be third place. You guys feeling nervous?
It is what it
little
is.
bit.
I feel. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, bro. I'm fully confident, but at the same time, I'm nervous.
Well,
I'm confident that it's gonna be stupid match, like all of our matches
I don't
are.
believe my team is real, so let's get it.
Wild.
I'm glad to see each of you are feeling pretty confident about yourselves. I will have to mention, though, both of you have, both teams have shown some pretty, I wouldn't say consistent, but a lot of common things. How prepared do you feel both of you are to face each other?
Well, ideally, I'm not fighting, so. But
Oh,
see,
it's not funny.
I feel pretty. Yeah, I'm going
Well,
third, so ideally, I'm not going.
uh, well, um, uh, I don't know what you guys will bring, but I'm pretty sure we have something in mind for you guys, I guess. We just
Gee, I
brought
wonder.
something.
I wonder what we're gonna play. It's almost like some of our players play the same thing every week.
We'll have to see whether or not that actually holds water, of course. And it does look like we're about to get started with the matches real soon. And this is gonna be interesting. I don't know where our I don't know where our referee went. Potentially it might just be Rick this time. But it looks like if that is the case, feel free to get your teams ready while we get things properly set up. Now, this is certainly an interesting dilemma. After quite a bit of an upset by, I want to say not Poke Galaxia, but rather Poke Saga, Astral have managed to make their way here to third. Hallowed Fantasy, of course, doing the same thing here. It does look like Infidelric has unfortunately left. And it looks like we'll be moving on to the match shortly. Oh, There we go. It looks like we do actually have a proper ref this time. As a reminder, I need to make sure everyone here, I believe everyone knows that you have to be on the most recent update, which pretty much I think has remained the same. Make sure, at least at this point, for the first people who are battling, can I get confirmation on whose those will be, by the way? Oh, there we go. There's our referee. And it looks like with the referee here, it looks like we'll get into the swing of things real soon. It looks like the first match will be Kaizen versus someone else. I believe that is Echo Captain representing Astral here. And it looks like we are getting into the swing of things. We're getting into available at least for this third place. Echo Captain has will bring as well. Even seen a weather team from Kaizen, although I could very well be wrong. It's a bit tough to see what will happen, but if it works well, Kaizen might be able to secure a very early lead here. And it looks like we are determining things right now as we wait for these matches to begin. And it looks like the match has actually begun, and we are starting off with a very interesting lead here. Kaizen starting off with the Weavile against Echo Captain's Mega Mawile. An excellent lead by Echo here. Very much directly threatening Weavile here, who can't really do much, as I believe even its strongest move would be low kick here, which likely won't be dealing much to Mawile. Mawile is relatively free to go for either a sword stance or an iron head, maybe even a play rough here. Choosing to bring in the slow bro, a very good pivot. However, not good enough as Mawile gets the read and lands a very heavy hitting knockoff here. Dealing a little bit of chip damage due to Slowbro's Rocky helmet. But it looks like Slowbro is forced to swap yet again. Ursaluna comes out, knocking off the flame orb. And with Ursaluna burned, with Ursaluna's burn permanently gone, this Ursula is going to be dealing significantly less damage. Chances are it might be able to go for more knockoffs in the future. At least with Mawile, as I would probably imagine a Play Rough, or even should we go for a Fire Punch instead? Play Rough is enough to KO the Ursaluna. However, this Mawile is looking incredibly low on HP. Weavile is able to come back out, but how much damage is it going to be dealing with either Triple Axle or Knockoff? This is looking to be incredibly dangerous. The Weavile, if it misses Triple Axle here, that could be 3 Pokemon permanently crippled by this Mawile. Choosing to go for the knockoff instead to be a little bit safer. It might have been enough to KO. It's a bit hard to say given Mawile's surprising amount of bulk. I will mention though, the Glamora here is incredibly huge. Knockoff likely won't be able to KO from this point. And Glamora is relatively free to set up rocks here, maybe even potentially go for a Power Gem or even a Meteor Beam, both of which will be devastating to Kazen's Weavile here. It looks like this is a tough choice to make for Kazen, who's immediately put at a disadvantage. With Ursaluna gone, there we go. Knockoff dealing a significant amount. Power Gem is enough to just outright KO the Weavile, choosing to bring in no Stealth Rocks. Now, this is a very interesting choice. No doubt Tornadus Therian is likely faster, unless it's running pure bulk, which it looks like it isn't. Hurricane's enough to KO the Glamora, however, Toxic Spikes are still on the field. And with half of Kazen's team removed, this is looking to be incredibly rough. Or, sorry, not... My apologies. I don't think it's half. I think it's about 2. However, Tapu Lele is brought back onto the field. And with the Dark type removed earlier, it really is hard to say what can safely switch into a Psychic. Psychic comes out, dealing a pretty significant amount of damage. As Heatran comes in. This is likely going to be threatening a pretty significant amount of damage here. Oh, it looks like we have a little bit of a slight discrepancy. Well, it's a bit hard to tell for certain. This is going to be interesting as Heatran likely threatens out Tapu Lele here. But what does it go for? Does it go for a Flash Cannon? Does it go for a Magma Storm? Or potentially Rocks for later? There we go. Koopa comes out as Heatran misses the Magma Storm, likely missing out on the chance to deal a pretty decent amount of damage. Koopa, of course, is relatively free to go for start carrying through Heatran and a good amount of Kazen's team here. Trying to manipulate how this will go will prove to be incredibly difficult. What I'm curious about to see is what Echo Captain goes for here. Slowbro is alive, and it's not alive for long, as with that, Tornadus is able to safely come back in, likely going to try and go for the U-turn here to either, I would probably wager it would be enough for an Oko, quite effective, plus the defense drop. There we go, Tornadus goes for another U-turn, bringing in the Heatran once again. What I'm curious to see here is how this is going to respond. It looks like it's once again another pivot. The psychic aura has faded from the battlefield, meaning any kind of priority is back in play. While it's not really likely going to make much of an impact for this kind of battle. Uh, and at this point, Echo Captain is likely forced to do something here, as he can't keep pivoting between Hoopa and the Tapu Lele. Eventually, that Tapu Lele will run out of health, and once that happens, there is no safe switch for Hoopa. Sinistcha comes back. Sinistcha actually choosing to come in as Heatran is brought back out. There is potentially a chance Kaizen might be able to bring this back. It's a bit hard to say for sure. Although I would imagine with this instance, do you really want to bring Heatran back in? Or sorry, not Heatran, the Hoopa, as one Magma Storm will likely be threatening large amounts of damage. We might even just outright see a Toxic come out. That's the problem with Pokemon like Heatran and Landorus. You don't really know what they're running until it's too late. It looks like Echo is forced into a tough choice here. Of the Pokemon remaining, Hoopa is your best bet, but do you really want to risk getting damage on that? There we go. Hoopa brought in. As Heatran goes for the taunt, which might not work as well in Kaizen's favor as he's hoping. Hyperspace Hole is relatively free here. There we go. Tornadus is immediately removed thanks to that Hyperspace Fury as Sceptile comes in. Now, this is a little bit interesting. I believe we've only seen Mega Sceptile or even regular Sceptile in general just only once before. We'll have to see what Kaizen goes for here, though, as I don't know if Sceptile would be able to KO if it's a special attack. And with that poison in place, something to be a little bit more dangerous. There we go. We have the Mega Sceptile coming out as Dragon Pulse does less than half. Hyperspace Fury is enough to immediately KO it, though. And the Keyran is coming in. Hyperspace Fury does significant amounts of damage. Keyran goes for a Magma Storm. Koopa's still alive by 1%. And with 4 Pokemon remaining, Echo Captain will put Astral in the immediate advantage here. Now, I believe this is the last opportunity for this might be one of the last opportunities we get to seeing either of these teams. So this is a tough choice to make. Do you want to make more risks on the side of Hallowed Fantasy, or do you want to try and play it safe? And it looks like we have our next 2 battlers. It looks like it's a battle of the managers here between Eat Foods and Astral's Sizar. This is going to be interesting. Sizar, of course, is well known for using Stall. However, I did hear earlier that that might not be the case this time around. We'll have to see whether the rumors are true and how dangerous is Sizar going to be here in this situation. It looks like the match is about to start, if I'm looking at this correctly. And it looks like we are left with a very difficult choice. There we go. It looks like the first match has, at least the first turn might be starting off here. We have Glide Score with the immediate advantage as Mega Deontay is going to Mega Evolve. And it looks like Deontay's an immediate disadvantage here. Deontay trying to go for the substitute, trying to potentially bait something coming out, likely a Protect. What I'm curious to see is what's going to happen next, as Sizar has the immediate advantage here with the Gliscor. Going for it again. I'm not certain what Eat Foods is going for here. Looks like he's going for it yet again. I don't know if this is some form of star or if Deontay's trying to pull some crazy stunt. I guess this is the question we have to wonder about here. What is this Deontay planning on doing? I don't think there's any real purpose. Going for it yet again. What does Deontay go for here, though? As this is the final opportunity Deontay really has to do anything. Are we potentially looking at an Endeavor here? More importantly, does Deontay even get Endeavor? Because if that's the case, Sizar could very easily just roost. The only other option I'm considering is maybe potentially going for something like, say, a Moonblast. Although I'm not really sure if that's a risk you want to take in this instance. Prospects comes out as Endeavor is brought back out. Endeavor will cause Deontay to faint to Rocky Helmet. However, this does immediate damage toward this Toxapex, likely who will be trying to regenerate it off. What I'm curious to see, though, is what's going to happen in response. Superior is brought out. Chances are Scyther did likely potentially bring a Blissey in, meaning this Toxapex is by no means safe. If Superior goes for a substitute here, or even a Glare, whatever's coming in is likely not safe. What I'm curious to see, though, is what the Superior does in this instance, because chances are Sizer wants to keep this alive, going for a relatively free regenerator. The question still remains, what does Sizer go for, though? and this is a relatively tough choice to make. Obviously, I'm trying to consider what size those options are. I don't really think the Glyce score is a safe choice, as Leaf Storm will likely just allow it for a relatively free two-shot. Superior misses the Leaf Storm, though. Well, I'm curious to see what will happen next, as chances are this Blissey is going to either go for a Stealth Rock or a Wish. Ooh, this is actually interesting. Bring the Primarina. I am curious to see how this will go, because on the one hand, Liquid Voice would likely do a lot. However, I don't really know what Blissey can really not take in this situation. What does Primarina go for? Yeah, it looks like we are left with a relatively tough choice here. Primarina goes for another substitute as Blissey deals more seismic tosses. There we go. Blissey hurt by the Rocky Helmet. Although that's not really likely to do much in this instance, as Blissey is relatively free to soft coil. I am curious to see what is going to happen in this instance. We've seen Primarina on Eat Foods' side. So there we go, going for the Leaf Storm setup. I highly doubt this will KO from this point. But the question still remains on whether or not you want to allow this Superior to continue to set up. I would wager Superior only really has one or two chances left to go for these Leaf Storms. Only exception really being if this Blissey is forced to continually heal. I would certainly have to check the calculator here. I will say, if I'm looking at this correctly, there is a chance with how Blissey works. Blissey might not be able to do all that much soon. It might be forced to heal. It's a bit tough to say for certain. Blissey likely forced to go for either a soft boiled here or a wish. What I'm wondering is if Blissey is trying to go for the protect, which we see in this instance. What does Superior go for, though? Going for the synthesis, allowing itself to heal. Still, I am a little bit curious to see what is going to happen. Clodsire comes in, likely going to go for the unaware here. I am curious to see what Sizar goes for in this instance. Going into the Darkrai. I'm curious to see why he's going for Darkrai here. As chances are, this is max special defense. I don't really think Ice Beam will be capable of dealing that much. And we did see that this Clodsire does have Unaware. This is going to be interesting. Could we potentially be seeing a Psyshock here? If that's the case, this could be devastating for this Clodsire. But I will say right now, turns out that doesn't happen very often. It looks like we do see the Psyshock though. That is enough to take out the Toxin Packs. I will say that is incredible for allowing this team to push a little bit forward. However, revealing that a little bit early could prove to have some little bit worse effects later on. Of that Darkrai was certainly a little bit of a surprise. We now know for certain that Blissey is definitely not safe against Darkrai here. I'm curious to see what is going to be brought out. Blissey isn't safe to really do much thanks to Psyshock, unless it has investment in both, but chances are that's not going to happen. This is, of course, a very tough decision to make here. It looks like Blissey will be brought in. Question remains though: is this physically or specially defensive? If it's physically defensive, I'm not certain how effective. There we go. Superior brought in. Seismic Toss comes back out. Superior hurt by the spikes there. I'm not entirely certain when that came out. Likely as a result of the Clodsire, which we see here. Superior going for the defog as Blissey sets up rocks. There we go. Superior going for another defog as Blissey uses Wish. I'm not really certain what they're attempting to put this on, as whatever comes in likely won't be very safe against this. Garchomp is brought in. Now this is actually interesting. Obviously, Garchomp is a very threatening Pokemon in this instance. What I'm curious to see though is what is this Garchomp really going to do? So far we've only seen one physically defensive wall in maybe two if Toxapex is included, but that's technically weak to Sword Stance. As the Dondozo comes in, Dondozo very much threatened out by something like, say, the Leaf Storm that would be approaching. I will mention, though, at least in this instance, there's no hazards up, meaning Sizar might be forced to switch without really being able to do much. We do know for certain what set the Superior is running. Superior going for the Glare, actually. Now, that is a very interesting decision to make here. It's a bit tough to say what's going to actually happen. We have the Shedinja trying to be brought out. However, it is immediately forced back into is immediately forced back out thanks to the presence of this Darkrai here. What I'm curious to see though is how Darkrai is going to try and respond, as naturally going for a Dark Pulse here is tempting, but Psyshock is also a very good opportunity to get some major damage off. Blissey comes out, in comes the Darkrai. I am curious to see though how much damage this Darkrai is going to be capable of dealing here, and more importantly, will it be enough? Chances are it might be enough to guarantee a KO. It's a bit hard to say for certain though. It pretty much just comes down to what is going to happen here. Depending on how depending on how this goes, we choosing to bring out the Primarina instead. Actually, this is actually interesting. What I'm curious to see is what Eat Food chooses to go for here. I believe we saw Wish, Protect, and Seismic Toss and Stealth Rock. I'm curious to see what Primarina is going to go for here. Likely, whatever it is, going for a Custom Berry Moonblast, actually. Certainly an interesting choice, as Seismic Toss is able to take the Primarina out. And so we're left with a really tough choice to make here. Garchomp is brought back in, but likely the Dozo will be brought out as a response. There we go. Superior is brought out as a response as the Dozo comes in. What I'm curious to see though is what's gonna happen next. We saw the Clodsire come out earlier in response. I don't know what's gonna happen though. Is Clodsire going to go for a toxic, going for the Shedinja instead and guaranteeing that paralysis? I won't deny that's incredibly huge in this instance, but I'm not really certain what Shedinja will do as aside from just standing there and taking bullets and maybe occasionally going for burns. Volcarona comes out as Shedinja lands the toxic. Volcarona is very much on a timer here, and with the Blissey in the back, it's kind of tough to say for certain how or what this Volcarona is going to do. Shedinja comes out as Clodsire is brought in. Flamethrower dealing pretty much not really doing much to this Clodsire, who is relatively free to just go for a recover or even spikes, as we know for certain Clodsire does run unaware. Of course, we do have to focus on this from Sizer's end. That Darkrai is pretty much threatening your entire team. Remove the Darkrai, and I would say you're relatively free to just go for Toxic against the entirety of Eat Foods' team here. Garchomp brought in as Clodsire goes for the Poison Jab, actually. That's actually pretty surprising. I believe we saw the Rough Skin hurt the Garchomp here. I'm wondering if this is potentially Mega Garchomp. Dondozo's brought out. Stone Edge does next to nothing, potentially trying to read the potential pivot over to Shedinja here, as Dondozo's relatively free to curse and go for a setup here. What I'm curious to see though is what is going to happen in response. This is a tough choice to make for Eat Foods here, as Ndozo is relatively free to either go for a curse or start dealing damage over time. Volcarona comes out as a Gliscor is brought in. Now this is going to be interesting. Will Eat Foods be able to eventually find a way to break through this? Going for the flamethrower, dealing a pretty respectable amount of damage here. However, I'm almost certain this Gliscor is going to go for Roost here. The question is whether or not Volcarona reads that in this instance and goes for a Quiver Dance, or is it just going to go for another flamethrower? Going for the Protect here, allowing itself to recover a little more HP. Blissey is going to be brought back in, likely to try and just face take everything. Blissey goes for something here. I don't really know what. Could be a wish, could be a stealth rock. Darkrai's brought in. Now I'm curious to see what happens here. Does Darkrai go for a read or does it just go for raw damage? Darkrai goes for the nasty plot as Blissey is able to successfully land a seismic toss. I want to see how much damage this Darkrai is capable of dealing here. With that nasty plot, Psyshock does about half. This, I think this could potentially be a roll if I'm looking at my calculations right. Darkrai comes out. This is going to be a tough question to make here. Gliscor brought in as Garchomp goes for the scale shot, dealing a pretty respectable amount of damage onto Gliscor here. Oh my. There we go, going for the Earthquake. I will say, how much damage will this scale shot do? Garchomp goes for the Stone Edge. Going for another Earthquake. What does the Dondozo go for here? Going for the Body Press. Able to do a little bit of extra damage. Darkrai's brought back in, but I'm curious to see what this Darkrai will go for. Going for the Darkinium Z, actually, Darkrai is able to immediately KO the Dondozo. I think the only physically defensive option left is that Gliscor, and if that is somehow removed, um, a physical attacker is fairly free to just set up and go for KOs here. Although I don't really know how much of that is left. Obviously, the Blissey is still here, and I don't think Darkrai is able to go for another nasty plot. Meaning the only way I could feasibly see this is if we somehow watch a Darkrai flinch here. Serperior is brought back out as Blissey is able to relatively go for a safe wish. There we go. Able to fully heal all the way back up. Although I don't really know how much use Superior is going to be at this point. I don't really think it has too many Leaf Storms left to deal. And now this is going to be an interesting choice. Glare is going to go for the paralysis here. Volcarona is able to come back out. There we go. Volcarona is on its last legs here. Likely, it doesn't have much left to do. I do believe the Pokemon remaining are Gliscor, Blissey, Shedinja, and potentially, I think the only other option really left is that why am I brain farting? Sorry, the Clodsire. Here comes the Blissey once again. Volcarona is going to not quite faint here. I think this is the final opportunity it really gets. However, do you really want to allow that kind of momentum? There we go. Going for the Bug Buzz, not quite dropping special defense. Blissey is able to set up rocks, and that will guarantee the Volcarona faints here. Darkrai is brought back in it, but it's not really able to do much in this instance. Unless we somehow witness a miracle here. Going for Psyshock, dealing next to nothing. Blissey goes for another Seismic Toss and feints the Darkrai. Serperior comes back out. Shedinja's brought back out. And it looks like that will be game, set, and match. And it looks like Astral have successfully secured themselves third place in Hall of Fantasy, although making an incredible run, just barely getting themselves off of the placement here. I do want to have one final interview with each of the teams here. I do believe the people I had in mind are currently with us right now. Now, this is going to be interesting. I do potentially want to have a couple of interviews with Astral and Hallowed, who I don't believe have really been here yet. At least on the interviews part as of the moment. I do believe if you'll allow a brief moment while we wait for them to come up. And there we go. We do have one person on the interview. I do want to review representing Astro at least will be the team manager Ziotic. How are you doing so far?
How you doing, man? I am stoked. I'm Zyodic. I am the owner and team manager of Astral Pixelmon. Man, I am just stoked. I didn't end up playing in the tournament, but my guys did, and I'm just blown away.
Of course, with this third place, I would definitely say you feel incredibly confident in your team. Chances are, will you be returning next year?
Oh, absolutely, we will. Don't know if we'll have the same lineup. I'm hoping we will, but it's obviously up to our battlers. This was our first time in the PWC, the Pixelmon World Cup, and the fact we got so far for our first time, I'm just so proud, so happy, and yeah, we are absolutely going to be returning next year, and we're coming for that first place.
We'll have to see if Astral is able to move on. I'm not quite certain if there is anyone representing Hallowed Fantasy with us at the current moment. I do potentially want to get an interview with our referee Leafeon. If you want to come up on stage, by all means. All right, yeah, feel free to come up on stage at least for a brief moment. How you doing, Leafeon? That was
Hello.
certainly quite a
Oh,
match.
that was a good third place battle. Ended pretty decisively as well. Shame that we couldn't see more of a match in the second round, but hey, it's Pixelmon World Cup, and it's disappointments happen. Honestly, I did not expect this lineup to be in the top three, top four. It's a good showing from both teams, though. Good showing from both teams for sure.
That certainly will
Looked
be
like
the
it was a
case.
bit ropey. Exactly, exactly. That was a good game. That was a good game.
Well, I'm curious to hear, at least on the end of the referees. I guess the first question would be, will you be there for the finals between Poke Saga and Poke Galaxia?
That you just have to be there, man. Have to be there. My first PWC, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. Honestly, well, I'm so glad just to see that two good teams are facing it off in the finals, and I'm excited to see what happens because they have both shown that they can win the entire thing on multiple occasions. So we'll see how that's going to happen.
Of
See
course,
how
and I
that's
guess
going to
really the
happen then.
final question we have, at least for this, at least for now, before we move on to the finals, how do you think things are going to be going moving on in the future, at least in records of like the next Pixelmon World Cup?
I think this definitely shows that even if you are like a newer team, if you're a newer server, you can still win it all, man. Like all of these servers, I would not expecting to be up here because of the player counts, whatever. You can win no matter what your server is. That's all. You can win. And I'm sure we'll get so many other teams signing up because of this. We have French servers, we had Korea servers, we have a lot of shame none of them came up to, the playoffs, but no, some did, sorry. But in any case, this is a great showing for the PWC event as a whole. And I'm excited to see how it turns out next year.
Of course, that's great to hear from our end, but I do believe, unfortunately, this will be the only match we will be doing today. Of course, I've been your commentator, Delta, and I hope you all continue to have a great morning, noon, evening, or night. Signing out, everyone.